Shalom.
As the Torah teaches,
The Prophet Muhammad said,
Jesus said, "Do unto others."
as one loves oneself,
love your neighbor as yourself.
that one's faith is not complete
until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for
oneself.
The ability to practice our religion
If we don't have our rights,
is at the heart of American freedom,
you don't have your rights.
Salam.
peace.
With us today to discuss the rich canvas of cultural and arts that young American Muslims are using to combat prevailing stereotypes is Tahir Amin Qayyum. Tahir is co-founder of Crescent Moon Nights, an organization that builds bridges between people of all backgrounds and culture by providing a nurturing environment for the arts, creative expression, and community involvement. Please also welcome Naima Sharif, founder of Infinite Production, an entertainment company that produces and promotes unique positive events in the Baltimore greater area, and including Salam, that is, Sunday events, a quarterly multi-art event that features some of the most talented musicians and visual artists in the region. Joining her is Kareem Amin, her partner in Infinite Production. Kareem is also the domestic program coordinator of Islamic Relief. And rounding out the panel via Skype is Wajahad Ali, who is an attorney, playwright, blogger, and frequent consultant on Islam and Muslim post-9/11, Muslim American identity and politics, multicultural arts and activism, and news media journalism. His play, Domestic Crusaders, has been lighting up audiences across the country, and his blog, goatmilkblog.com, is ranked the top 7% of all political blogs. Welcome. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Well, let's get it rolling. Okay. This whole idea, this notion that Muslim youth, especially Muslim young men, prime candidates for terrorism, and seems to be the focus. You know how the news normally leads. What it says: if it bleeds, it leads. So you get all of the negative type things, and usually they're the exception to the rule rather than the rule. You chose to deal with that and deal with that narrative through the arts. And can you kind of tell me through your work how you're dealing with this whole idea that for some reason that Muslim youth are to be feared rather than to be revered?
I think one thing that we've encountered is that some people may not have an accurate picture of what Islam is.
Okay.
We've had people come to our open mic, which is predominantly it's Muslims and non-Muslims. It's both people who come to Crescent Moon Nights, and they say, wow, I would have thought that sister would have performed a piece like that, So we're crushing stereotypes about that all Muslims are angry, all Muslims are terrorists, and we're showing maybe even a different side of us.
So Naima, what about you in your work?
Well, in my work, I've noticed that a lot of the people who come and enjoy Salam Sundays and other events that I put on, the non-Muslims, they kind of get a more realistic picture of Islam and Muslims. They look at us as humans after they see it, because the arts kind of bridges all different ethnicities, creeds, and brings us all together. And so while I didn't start my work thinking that I was going to battle this stereotype, that's actually what has happened. And we've been able to crush many stereotypes, as Tahir has mentioned.
Kareem, I want to bounce something else off of you too, because again, all of us remember at one point we were teenagers, and me probably a lot longer ago than you guys. But nevertheless, the whole the zeal of youth, and just that whole thing about being young and something like that. So I want to know, for some reason, it seems as if the focus is on young Muslims, but indeed youth. We have gang violence, we have all kinds of things like that. And we see that often, the dysfunctional families, whether it's in the hood or the suburbs, young people are not getting the attention and the love that they need, and things of that nature. So my question to you is your work centered solely around Muslims, or are you trying to address the common areas that all young people face in terms of the challenge for staying away from what we call antisocial and criminal behavior?
Absolutely. I know just as a case study, I was a teacher for about 7 years, and I noticed that many of the issues that affect the Muslim community also affect the non-Muslim community. Just youth apathy, youth having things to do, and having certain outlets to relieve a lot of their energy that they have. And so through things like the Salam Sundays, the events that Crescent Moon Nights put on, and also my work at Islamic Relief, we provide volunteer opportunities and also artistic opportunities for youth to express themselves, because really, many of these people just want to find some sort of independence, some way to express their attitude, their image, but we want to try to channel that into a positive way. So.
Okay, Brother Wajahat, jump in here right quick and tell us, out there in the Bay Area with the work that you're doing and so like that, how important is it to combat this narrative through what you're doing as it relates to what we call corporate media? Because again, as we say, their whole thing is if it bleeds, it leads. So they have a tendency to want to report the more negative things about young people. Right. What's your take on that?
Well, you have to look at what's happening in America right now. They did a recent statistic, and it showed that 60% of Americans say that they don't know a Muslim. 60%. Wow. And repeatedly since 2001, the statistics show that anywhere from about 45 to 49% of Americans have a negative image of Islam and Muslims, or it's associated with violence. Out of all the religions, we're the most feared and hated. So the question arises, well, how is this narrative painted? How is this image painted? How have Muslims become the villains? Obviously, it has to come from somewhere. The reality, number one, exists that there are some Muslims around in the world, unfortunately, who do crazy things. That's a fact. But the overwhelming reality is that out of 1.5 billion, most of us are, pretty good people with who try to get by, and are annoyed by our mother-in-laws, and try to lose 5 pounds here and there, and so forth and so forth. So the problem is that we have a lot of wealth in our story, but we don't have enough minors.
Let me jump in again, if you don't mind, because
yeah, sure.
I want to just very quickly go down the row. The mosque, the pivotal point within the Muslim community. Are they really doing enough in terms of addressing the issue as it relates to young Muslims? Very quickly, a brief answer.
No.
Response.
No, because many young people don't relate to the mosque, or they feel pushed out by people who are very, very not accepting of maybe popular culture.
Yeah. Naima?
Not at all. I think that a lot of times in the mosque, we get this picture of Islam where we're supposed to be perfect, but realistically, we're imperfect beings. And so we don't nurture that. We don't come up with alternatives for the youth at all. And when the youth does decide that they want to pursue a certain career, we're quick to say, oh, no, you're wrong. This is haram, and push them out of the community. And that's just
Kareem?
What I would like to see is mosques do more of a job to include the youth in certain things that are going on, but also understand the mosque is a centerpiece for the community. It is not the only thing that's in the community.
Yeah, but I think that's important because I think young people can do something besides babysitting, and moving chairs and tables, and keeping doing child care, and showing the Lion King at nauseam 1,000. Okay, watch your hearts. Jump in, if you will, please.
Instead of being a vibrant, life-affirming center, many times the mosque for young people, and even old people, becomes a paralyzing mausoleum. And it needs, and exactly what you said, it needs to have an infusion of spirit, and I think vision that really helps not only attract the youth, but also I think the elders in the community, to show that you too have a voice here, and we can do something which actually enhances the cultural life of our community. So that's lacking it's getting better. It's better in the Bay Area, but I know it's lacking in a lot of places in America, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Kareem.
Yes.
I know we're talking about cultural things of that nature, but how important are other things like social justice projects and things like, only because I know you do a lot of work around this in terms of Islamic relief?
I mean, it's so imperative. As you know, Brother Mahdi, it's imperative to have youth involved in all parts of life. I mean, because our lives are 360 degrees. It's not just one place at the mosque. And so you have to have youth involved in things like volunteerism. We have Day of Dignity, for an example. I mean, just the infusion of youth throughout the entire country. We have over 2,000 volunteers that participate. And I would venture to say at least 60% of those volunteers are young people that just want to be involved. And if you could start channeling those young people towards that, then you can start to combat some of these stereotypes and start to combat some of these people that are going to the negative side as opposed to, the positive side of being a Muslim.
Okay, I want to come back to you, Brother Tahir, around the whole issue of art. Of of course, we know now they've been out here for so long. I always call them old school groups like Native Deed and stuff. They pioneered. But you know how important? Because I remember when this first came out, and there was rejection kind of because of the beat was more like, as opposed to the old traditional, especially overseas nasheeds that went, you know, like that. You know, and people, you know, they didn't get it, you know. But now it seems to be moving in a different way. But I always say young people speak a different language. You know, bling bling is not the sound of silverware falling on the floor, and M&M is not chocolate candy, and Usher's not going to take you to a seat. You know, there's a difference, okay? So just how important is that relevance, you know, a factor in terms of the cultural dimension at play as it relates to trying to keep young people on the right track?
Very important, because the whole thing creates a culture within the community. You can even call it a hip hop era Muslim community, meaning that everyone has something to relate to. So we may be of different backgrounds, different nationalities, but one thing everyone can relate to is art. And that's one thing we do through Crescent Unites, is bringing people together through arts and unity.
Okay, well, what can I say? It looks as if we're fastly approaching what we call the pause for the cause, but we want you to watch this important clip, and we'll be right back.
When I was on the plane, I knew it. The airlines conveniently thought that the Muslim meal meant the no taste, no fish, no seafood, non-edible substance meal. So once I saw that one slice of tomato and steamed lettuce, I busted out Ummi's Carmine curry.
You're such a fob, I swear.
Wow, they let you bring food on the plane? They didn't examine it under some anti-terrorist sensory lens?
No, they give you that. No sharp objects, though. They took my nail cutters away.
The ones I got you.
Yeah, the fancy ones. Sorry, Abu.
Bastards. Idiots. Totally incompetent. Well, did they give it back to you?
Well, I was in a rush. No offense, Abu, an awesome nail cutter, but it was either a $300 flight or...
Oh, the nail cutter. I would have done the same.
Why did you have to pack a stupid nail cutter? Ullu, idiot, great. Have them lock you up next time. You read, you should know better. The FBI probably has a file on you now.
Probably is being naive. They definitely do.
I haven't even told you guys the best part yet.
There's more?
If life were only that easy, Ummi. So I passed the whole sandal bomb pat-down scanning place, and I'm heading to my gate. I sit there, everything's cool, usual. The lady comes on the PA system.
Attention all passengers, Flight 570 is boarding at gate 18D. Economy passengers, seats 10 to 30. Please board now.
I pick up my bags and I get in line. This recent article I had read all of a sudden came to mind. It talked about how a crew of flight attendants refused to fly on board with the Punjabi Sikh man, even though the Punjabi Sikh man was an affluent, tax-paying college professor of English, no less, with American citizenship. He was kindly asked to leave as not to endanger or disturb the psychological or mental comfort of the other passengers.
Sir, we'd appreciate kindly if you would please kindly leave the aircraft. Quietly and quickly. Thank you, kindly.
Perhaps they think all people who wear turbans are terrorists. Perhaps they didn't like the way he looked. Oh, maybe he smelled funny. Maybe he made the mistake of smiling at the attendant. Regardless, boom, he's off.
Bye-bye.
Which brings me back to myself, standing in line, wearing my sandals with my grizzly beard, my prayer cap on, a Sports Illustrated magazine folded in my back pocket, and a new paperback version of Jihad and Terrorism in my left arm. The lady says,
"May I see your boarding pass, sir?"
She scans it. She looks at the screen. She looks up at me. And the smile is now gone. She nods her head, and this large Filipino man comes and takes me to the side.
Sorry, sir. Just the usual procedure. Can you please step aside for a moment?
Have I done something? Is there anything wrong?
No, just standard procedure is all.
I spend about 5 minutes doing a body search. They check my keys, my wallet, my belt, the contents of my bag, my magazine, the shoes, the keys again, and finally back to the belt. The other passengers just stroll on by, witnessing the Muslim mammal zoo exhibit. I'm sure it made them feel real safe that I was being sanitized. Even safer when I boarded the plane and walked down the aisle to their surprise. Oddly enough, no one else was searched except a young black man and a middle-aged white guy. He probably had an Eastern European name.